Hey everybody, today we are canning Hungarian peppers. I'm going to give you my grandfather's recipe that he got from some Hungarian friend of his. And these are the best peppers. Everybody loves them. My mom used to slice them up and put them on mayonnaise and bread for sandwiches, and they turn out really, really good. So you are going to need your peppers, fresh picked from the garden, cleaned. You can cut the tops off, you can slice them, you can leave them whole, however you're going to do it. You're going to also need your canning jars. I have about 8 of them for this batch, and your rings and your lids. For the pickling solution, you're going to need vinegar, you're going to need water, you're going to need vegetable oil, a little bit of sugar, and however many cloves of garlic that you plan to do. I usually put 1 clove per jar. If you like more garlic, you can use more. Just kind of an eyeball it thing. So while I've got all my stuff together, I'll be getting my peppers ready in a few minutes. What I normally do is I turn on my canner and I get that water good and hot because you're going to have to process your jars. And then in the next pot, I put my pickling solution. So what goes into the pickling solution? You're going to put in your pot 4 parts of vinegar, 1 part of water, and then about however many cloves of garlic you want, and bring that to a boil. So while that's getting ready, I'm going to prepare my jars, and I'm going to prepare my jars by cleaning them with hot soapy water and getting them sterilized. And then I'm going to also get my peppers prepared. So stay tuned and I will be back to show you the rest. So my peppers are washed, and before I start cutting them, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to invest in some gloves. Any kind of gloves will do. This is what I have right now. So these are a clean pair of latex gloves. The seeds from the peppers will burn your hands. I learned from experience. It's not a good thing to do this with your bare hands. So I just keep a little extra bowl off to the side for my scraps because the chickens love those. And I'm going to just cut the tops off of my peppers. I like to leave the seeds because we like them hot. But in the past I've sliced them in half and taken the seeds out as well. So I'm going to just finish doing this, and I'll show you the rest in a few minutes. So your next step is to pack your jars with your peppers. So I've got my jar hot, ready, and I cut my peppers in halves so they fit in the jar. Some of them are a little longer, but you just pop them in the jars and get them ready. You want to leave some head space. Don't pack them too tight, just enough to be able to fill your liquid in around them. And I just keep shoving them in there until I've got the amount of peppers that I want. And they're nice and pretty and green, and I just try to pick some of the nicest ones to put in there, some of the bigger pieces. So I think I can fit maybe one more small one in there. So we'll shove this one in, probably right about there. So you're going to want about that many peppers in your jar. Just eyeball it. You're going to need to leave some room at the top, about a ½ inch head space for your liquid. So you can see I've got it pretty well full. So I don't know, I've got it. I usually try to get it right about to that ring, and that leaves room for my liquid. So I'm going to keep filling my jars, and I'll come back in just a minute. Okay, so as you can see, we've got, let me turn my camera. We've got the jars packed. The amount of peppers I had gave me 6 jars. So the next step in my peppers, sorry about that, I'm trying to get you at an angle where you can see everything. The next step for my peppers is to add the sugar. So I'll just put you up here so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to take a teaspoon of sugar for each jar, and I'm just going to add that to each jar. It can be a little heaping if you like them a little sweeter. You're going to get kind of that sweet taste along with that pickled flavor. It's a little different, but you don't really notice the sugar a whole lot. It just kind of helps to take down the heat of the peppers. So there's the sugar. And then the next thing you need to do is take a shot glass, and yes, go blue. And you're going to add a shot of oil to the boiling pickling solution. So as you can see, I've got it coming to a boil. Everything's good and rolling around in there. And I'm going to get my shot glass, and I'm going to pour a shot of oil into that solution. And there it goes. And we're just going to let that roll around for a minute, and then we're going to add the solution, the pickling solution, into the jars. So stay with me, we'll be right back. Okay, so for this step, you're going to need a funnel, and you're going to need a funnel and a ladle. All right, so I'm going to scoop out some of the juice, pickling solution, let's call it what it is, and I'm going to funnel it into each jar, just right over the top of the pepper and the sugar. And you're going to want to put enough in there to cover the peppers, leaving about a 1/2 to 1/4 inch of head space from the top of the jar. So this only takes a couple minutes. You want to be careful because this is really hot. It's boiling. And if you don't have enough of the pickling solution, you can always mix up another batch. So when I say 4 parts vinegar, what I used for this was 4 cups of vinegar. And I actually doubled my recipe, so I had 8 cups of vinegar. And then 1 part of water for the amount that I used was actually 2 cups of water. And again, I had my garlic cloves in there, and I'll be picking those out in just a few minutes to put in the jars of peppers, because you want 1 in each jar at least. You can also cut up some extra cloves and throw them in the jar with your peppers before you add your solution. I've done it both ways. I think cooking it with the solution is a little bit better because you just get that nice color to your peppers and they stay nice and green. Okay, so this is my last jar that I'm adding solution to. And I'm trying not to get any more of the garlic because it looks like I got about 2 cloves in there. You might have to tip your pan a little bit, or tip your pot, to get that last bit of vinegar solution. I use the ball canning jars and lids, and I just kind of follow the ball recommendations for processing, because after you have your jars ready, you're going to put your lids on, and I'll show you that step in a minute. Okay, it looks like my stuff is all in there. So once I have this done, I'm going to take a little wooden spoon. I'm going to take the handle of it, and I'm just going to kind of tuck it down into each jar, getting the air bubbles out, the extra air bubbles that might be trapped at the bottom. So I'm just tucking it around each jar to push those air bubbles up and out. And this only takes a minute. If you have peppers that are popping up out of the jar, you can just kind of mush them back down in there. Push them back down in there. This also kind of helps get your peppers pushed to the bottom of the jar, so that way you've got that head space that you need. And I think I've got all the air out of that one. 2 more jars to go. Okay, my last jar. I'm going to take this piece of garlic out because that's extra and put it in that jar. So each jar for me has about 1 clove of garlic for this time around because I didn't have a whole lot of garlic. I had just enough for this recipe. Okay, I think those are down there. Okay, so I still have some garlic cloves in here I need to get to put in the jars that don't have garlic. And I have a little bit of solution left. If you have some left and you have some extra vegetables, you can throw them, clean them and throw them in a jar and pour the extra solution over them and just stick it in the refrigerator. I won't use that one. You can just stick it in the refrigerator and have them for a snack or something, you know, as you want. They'll hold up in your refrigerator for about 2 weeks. After you process your peppers with your lids, they'll keep down in your cellar, wherever you keep your canned goods, in your cabinet or whatever. They'll keep for 6 months to a year. I'd like to try to use mine within a year so that way they don't go bad. All right, my next step in this process is I take a clean towel and I just wipe off the rims. There's a little bit of extra oil on them. You don't want that. You want nice clean rims so you get a good seal with your lids. So I just take it around and I wipe as much of that off as I can using a clean part of my towel every time. You can use a washcloth, a clean washcloth. I just use a paper towel. It works just fine. You want to be careful not to get that paper towel inside the liquid because you don't want to contaminate it with anything. So those should be nice and clean. Okay, so my next step. What I've done is I've taken my lids and I've gotten them hot in this pot here. Let me get this pot out of the way. I've gotten them hot and I'm going to take my magnet that came with the little canning kit that I purchased, and I take each lid out of and they're sterilized. Sometimes they stick together, but you want to take it out and just put one on top, put them each on top, put one on each jar, like that. I shake the excess water off before I do it, so that way, you know, I'm feeling like this is getting a good seal. A couple of them are stuck together in here. Let's see if I can get them unstuck. Oh, these are hot. Hot, hot, hot. And stuck. Oh my goodness. I'm having a little bit of a problem here getting these unstuck. I don't know what happened. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to unstick them, put them back in that boiling water just to kind of, since I've handled them a little bit. All right. Put that one on, and then I have my last one coming right here. So we put that one on. So there's that. So once those are on, you're going to take your clean, sterilized rings, and you're going to tighten them, finger tighten them on your jars to get them ready for the canner. Being careful not to pop down the center of your lid, because you want it to seal naturally on its own, and if you pop down that center, you're not going to hear them seal after they come out of the canner. And that's how you kind of keep track of which ones are sealed and which ones aren't. Because once they're sealed, then that means they're safe to store in your cellar for the winter. So you want to make sure those lids are on straight. If they're crooked, you're not going to have a good seal on your lids when they go into the canner, and you might get some of that canning water into your peppers. So I got mine finger tight. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the jars in the canner. So this is like prongs, I guess, or tongs for jars. And you just take them. I take it because the jars are hot. And then I just set them inside my canner, and I'll show you that in just a minute after I have them all in. Okay, so I've got my jars inside my canner, and you can see the water covers the lids in the rings by about an inch or so, maybe 2 inches if you can get them. My canner holds, I think, 7 jars. You can get bigger, different size canners. So you're going to want to process that for 10 minutes. The water was boiling, so I'm just going to set my timer for 10 minutes, and then after that you just take them out and you let them cool. We'll be back in a minute. Okay, so the timer has gone off. They have processed in a hot water bath for 10 minutes. So I'm just going to take my, it's not too easy to do with one hand. I'm going to take my tongs and remove each jar. Just gently drain the water off, and I place them on a towel so that way they can cool. I don't put the hot jars directly on my countertop. We'll just leave them there to cool, and as you hear the lids pop, you'll know that they're sealed. I usually let them sit on the counter for about 24 hours, and then I come back in the morning to check to see how they've done, if they've all sealed. If you have a jar or two that don't seal, you can either do the process again and run them through hot water bath again for another 10 minutes, or you can just put them in your fridge and enjoy them. So that is the process for making Hungarian canned peppers. So to recap, you're gonna need 4 parts vinegar, 1 part water, a shot of oil, and garlic cloves, however many you want for the number of jars you have. I usually do 1 or 2 cloves per jar. And you're going to need a teaspoon of sugar in each jar. So you're going to put your ingredients of vinegar, water, oil, and garlic into a pot and bring it to a boil. While that's boiling, you're going to prepare your peppers and your jars and get your peppers, pack your jars with your peppers. And by the time you have that ready, and prepare your lids and your rings too in a pot of hot water. You want to bring it to about 180 degrees so that way you get a good sterile lid. Pack your jars with your peppers and put a teaspoon of sugar in each jar. Once your solution has come to a boil, you're going to fill your jars with the solution of vinegar and water and garlic. Put 1 or 2 cloves of garlic in each jar as you fill it. Wipe your rims with a clean cloth or towel. And then you're going to put your lids and your rings on and just give them a finger tight. Make them tight, just as tight as you can with your hands. Once you've done that and you've got your jars ready, you're going to transfer them to your boiling water canner, and you're going to process them in that canner for 10 minutes. After they're done, you take them out and you let them sit on the counter and listen for each jar to pop through the next couple of hours. When you hear that popping sound, that's the jar sealing. So I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I hope you make an attempt to try these peppers. They're fantastic. They are, it's a recipe that's been handed down into my family for, I'm the 3rd generation, so they're very popular with my family and my friends kids. They love them. So enjoy your peppers. See you next time.